Hello everyone, we are today here at the Military History Museum of the Bundeswehr in Dresden, and this is Magnus Pahl.
Hello.
Who is the curator of the Fallschirmjäger exhibition, and today we talk about how the Germans saw Italy in 1943 and 1944.
After the collapse of the Heeresgruppe Afrika, of the German-Italian Heeresgruppe Afrika, was joined and combined force, the next theater of war in the Mediterranean Sea was not clear to the Germans, of course. They were not know, okay, where are the next landings in Sicily, in Italy, or in Greek, or the Balkans.
Or Sardinia.
Or Sardinia also. It's located somewhere here. Yes. And that was not clear to the German military intelligence. There were different forecasts, of course. And the Allies themselves did not know where to go next. There were some different opinions, of course. And in general, especially the British Premier, Winston Churchill, favored the Mediterranean Sea. Because he called it the soft underbelly of the German and Italian, the Axis partner. Because in his eyes, it was more easy to attack the Germans from the Mediterranean Sea, so from the south to the north. And on the other hand, the Americans were against this approach because they thought, okay, we have to go directly, as direct as possible, through the heart of Germany, especially the German Ruhrgebiet, the industrial area, and they favored very strictly the invasion in northern France. And it was scheduled for spring '44, and there they weighed advantages and the disadvantages.
And it should be added that for the British Empire, the Mediterranean is also sometimes called the artery of the empire, because a lot of sea trade runs through. And since Sicily and other parts were still under Italian control, it couldn't be completely free. So this was also likely for logistical aspects.
That's right. In terms of the grand strategy, it was crucial for the British, especially for the Commonwealths, to possess also the strongholds in the Mediterranean Sea, because of their lifeline from India through the Suez Canal into the Mediterranean Sea. And of course, Churchill, as a brilliant politician, always thought about the time after Hitler and the time after the defeat of Hitler's Germany. And of course, the USA, the British Empire and the Soviet Union were together in the anti-Hitler coalition. But for Churchill, it was clear that after the defeat of Hitler Germany, maybe the Soviet Union would become
troublesome.
Yeah, exactly. And so he bears that in mind that the Russians, of course, in his perception, that the Russians always regarded the Balkan states as their zone of influence.
Yeah.
So especially the Dardanelles and so on. And that was the reason why Churchill also favored an operation against the Axis forces in the Mediterranean Sea after the defeat of the Heeresgruppe Afrika. And yes, the Americans and the British always discussed this matter, of course, this operation. And they decided to go to Sicily, to invade Sicily in July '43, and then to fight up the Italian leg if you want so, up to the north. And the big disadvantage was that is often not so much popular known, that Italy itself, from a geographical point of view, is a very mountainous terrain and country. And if you want to fight the whole leg up to the north, it's of course very, very difficult for the attacker, because the defender can rely on the mountain terrain, can of course block valleys in a quite easy way. So the terrain favored the defender. But on the other hand, it was, for the Germans, it was always important to secure also the long coastlines, because the Allied forces had the superiority in the air and on the sea too, and were able to conduct amphibious landings at the whole coastline of Italy, in the west and in the east. And so the Germans always had to keep it in mind that they needed reserve forces, divisions to cover, to secure the long coastlines. That was a big disadvantage for the Germans. So.
And how was it perceived? Basically, it was, for the Germans, it was likely a Nebenkriegsschauplatz, a secondary theater of operations. That's the meaningful, or the meaning of translation, because neben basically means side to a certain degree. Yeah,
that's right. Of course, the big front, the main front for the German was the Eastern Front in the summer of 43. Most divisions were encountered in the fightings in the east, in the big fightings with whole army groups and so on and so on. And the Germans always thought, okay, in summer 43 there was a big debate how to defend Italy. And you had, if you want so, two different German commanders. You had the Field Marshal from the Air Force, Albert Kesselring, and you had, on the other hand, the famous Desert Fox Erwin Rommel as an army Field Marshal. And both had different concepts of defending Italy. Rommel was, of course, during First World War, mountain infantryman, and so he knew mountain warfare, of course, and he was very familiar, of course, as a Panzergeneral, tank general, in leading panzer forces. And so he was absolutely an expert. He knew the terrain in Italy, the mountain terrain, and he knew the modern warfare. And Rommel clearly was in favor for the solution to go back to northern Italy and to defend Italy at the later Green Line. And that was the advantage.
Closer to Austria.
Closer to Austria, and the advantage was, of course, that you did not had those long coastal lines and had not the need to secure those hundreds of kilometer-long beaches.
And also shorter logistical lines that could be less attacked with Allied air forces, I guess, as well.
Exactly. And Field Marshal Kesselring had a different approach, also because he was from the Air Force. And for him, it was, for example, important to keep the air war aspects in his mind. And he argued, okay, the closer you come to Germany, the better it is for the Allied Air Force to hit, for example, the Romanian oil fields at Ploiești. Yeah. That was one of the crucial points for the whole German strategy, because that was the lifeblood for the Panzer divisions and for the modern warfare. And of course also Germany itself, because in July 43 the Allied bombed Hamburg, for example, destroyed large parts of the city. And Kesselring always thought as an Air Force officer, of course, in this case. And you know, the strategy of Hitler itself is the Oberbefehlshaber der Wehrmacht and the highest German authority and decision maker was to hold the ground. To hold the ground. That was the basic strategy, not to give up any square meter whatsoever, to hold. In the East, that was his receipt to hold the ground he had. And it was in Italy, for Hitler, it was in the summer of 43, it was not so clear if it was possible to defend south of Rome, because the Italian forces were still on the German side as the Axis partner, but it was foreseen by Hitler that there was something going on,
sides,
and they changed the sides. And on 25th July 43, Mussolini, the big friend and ally of Hitler, was sacked or was captured by Badoglio and by a group of Italian officers with the support of the royal family, the royal Italian family. And they first said, okay, we are still a coalition partner, we're still part of the Axis, but about channels, diplomatic channels, intelligence channels, they were in close contact with the Western Allied powers, and managed some armistice with the Western Allies. And that took place on September 8th, when the new Italian government said, okay, we changed the sides. And it was connected with the landing in Salerno, from Sicily to Salerno. After they defeated the German forces at Sicily, the Allies landed at Salerno and go up to the fighting the Italian leg up to the north. And it was close connected, the landing at Salerno and
Italy dropping out of the war.
Exactly.
Or changing sides.
And the Germans, to the surprise of the Allied side, were able to stabilize the situation in Rome, in the area of Rome, in the early days of September, after the declaration of war against Germany from the new Italian government. And they were able to stabilize the situation in Rome. That means that they captured a lot of former allies from the Italian side. And the German parachute corps was decisive in the area around Rome. They had the 2nd parachute division for this purpose and the 3rd Panzer Grenadier division. And they were able to force the Italian forces to surrender. So, and that was in September. Hitler made the decision, okay, it is possible to defend Italy south of Rome because Rome is in German hands. And the 10th Army was also able to withdraw in an orderly manner towards northern Italy or middle Italy after the landing in Salerno. And that's why Hitler thought, okay, in autumn 43, I can defend Italy in the south.
Okay, so basically, if we look at the idea of Rommel, he was mainly focused on the army and where to defend best in the area and use the area and also take back forces to preserve them, to create reserves, I guess, as well.
On an operational level, I think more on an operational level, and on a strategic or grand strategic level, Kesselring had the better arguments, maybe. But that's also discussed even up to now, of course, because you have pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages.
For both sides, makes sense.
From both sides.
Anything else to add here?
That was a foreplay, if you want so, for the Battle of Cassino, because in the autumn of 43, the German staffs and engineers and so on made recce all around Italy and looking for the best position to defend Italy. And they depict the Cassino area because the Cassino area favored the defender the most. And that was very well known, and it is said that even also the Italian general staffs officers before the outbreak of the war took this scenario as an exercise for their own purposes. So it was clear for the Germans that that's really a good position to defend. And it was about a little bit more than 100 kilometers south of Rome. So, and that's some kind of foreplay for the battle of Monte Cassino in January 44. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the Military History Museum of the Bundeswehr in Dresden. Sources are listed in the description. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.